Hey everyone, welcome to week 2. I hope everything went well last week. If there's anything that you need from me or you would like me to change, please let me know. I'm happy to really keep working on the format and the presentation and the types of assignments we do so that it works for you. If there's anything you need regarding your other classes as well, you can always get in touch with me and I will certainly do what I can or help you walk through any obstacles you might be having. So we're on week 2, and this week is where my super important note, very important, comes into play. I've been reading a lot of Dog Man, which is a graphic novel for kiddos written by the Captain Underpants guy, and my son cracks up every time they say super instead of super. So it's kind of in my head now, and I apologize for sending it your way, but here you go. So the important note is that this week is one of the weeks where the assignments are separated based on whether you are taking the AP language exam or not. So you want to read very carefully and only do what applies to you. You do not need to do everything, otherwise you would have a mountain of work in front of you. If you're not sure about whether you're taking the test, I do recommend that you proceed with the test review. And I'm going to be scheduling a time, hopefully, to meet with all of my test takers in this coming week or so be on the lookout for that notification. So we're going to start on our distance learning schedule. Now, in case you can't remember where that is, I think the easiest thing to do is go to our classroom. And you will see that it's been reposted for you a few items down on Sunday night, but you can also find it by going to classwork. And you'll see that we have a topic, 427, distance learning. I put the date at the front and the back just because, as you can see, it cuts it off a little bit on the left over here. So everything you need for this week is right in this little topic cluster. So we've got 2 assignments for non-test takers, 2 assignments for test takers, and I also reposted the distance learning schedule. Okay, so let's take a look at what you are up to this week, and we will start with the test takers. So this week, my test takers, we are thinking about the expectations of rhetorical analysis and how we might tackle the task. This is going to include a practice rhetorical analysis essay. So your first assignment requires you to participate in a College Board review session. You will follow along with the video and you will turn in evidence of your engagement with the duration of the video. The material you need includes a link to the College Board review video, and you'll see this is what it looks like. I've recommended that you start the video at 7 minutes and 32 seconds. The first 7 minutes or so is material you don't really need, and you can skip over it. The College Board has created review materials to go along with these videos, and you can find them here. The only thing sort of strange, guys, is that this video that you'll be watching is from April 8th, 4/8. And so you want to make sure that you scroll down to the material from 4/8. And you will see 3 items there. So those 3 items you will use as you watch the video. And the woman who is instructing on the video will tell you when to use each item. You will turn in the item that's in the Word document form, the rhetorical analysis things to remember. You can open that up, make a copy. You could handwrite it and take a photo. But in any case, that's what you'll ultimately turn into me. And you will turn it in on Google Classroom, and it's assignment number 1. So you'll see that I've really duplicated everything for you. Test takers assignment number 1, and all of this material here is exactly what's in the learning guide. So things are in multiple places in hopes that you always have what you need and you don't have to be too frustrated. Alright, so assignment number 2 for test takers requires you to get back to My AP. You will be completing a rhetorical analysis practice essay that is through the My AP College Board Classroom. I want you to use the tip sheet that you made last week only. I want you to test it out. Did you make a good one? Do you need to change it? I want you to notice how much time it takes you to use notes so that you hopefully can refine your tip sheet over the next couple of weeks so that it is really useful. But do not make it longer. You don't want to be using a really long open book scenario for the test. So you're going to log into myap.collegeboard.org, and you will look for the assignments or assigned progress checks, and you'll be doing one called the Great Influenza Passage. I couldn't resist showing you that actually the 1918 flu epidemic was mentioned in one of the AP passages from a previous test. So when you're in AP Classroom, you should see something like this. You will be able to type directly into My AP. My AP will time you and give you 50 minutes, and you will turn your work in directly to My AP. So just as a reminder, for that assignment, the practice rhetorical analysis, that's getting turned in directly on My AP. Okay. I have posted these directions for test takers assignment 2. Same directions as the distance learning schedule, and it's reminding you that it gets turned in on AP. So if you just want to mark done or turned in here, that's fine. That way it doesn't remind you and harass you that you haven't turned it in. Okay? Non-test takers, I haven't forgotten about you. Of course not. You're going to be focusing on the way written rhetoric about the coronavirus has been used to characterize our current experiences. You'll also have a chance to take a look at visual rhetoric and how that has been used to sway public opinion. There's some really amazing things happening right now rhetorically. The teacher in me is like jumping off the walls because there's just such cool stuff. And it's everything we've studied, and hopefully you can see why we study these things. It makes a huge difference. For example, if we call grocery store workers heroes. Why? Because we expect heroes to sacrifice themselves for us. But is it fair for us to do that, right? These are actually just average people with families and people who love them. So there's been some interesting conversations about whether calling them heroes actually does a disservice. Anyway, I'm off topic because I'm excited. You guys are going to start with this fantastic article called Behind Trump's Invisible Enemy Rhetoric. Okay? So I've linked the article for you right here. And when you're finished, you will respond to the assignment on Google Classroom. And it's essentially a summary and then a more personal response. So if you click over to Google Classroom, you will see for non-test takers, assignment number 1. And again, all of the instructions are duplicated for you. You'll read the article and then complete the assignment below. Okay. And then last but not least, my non-test takers. Hopefully you remember when we took a look at visual rhetoric and gender a while ago, and we made a fantastic slideshow that sort of invited everyone in class to pick an image and analyze it. And it was really eye-opening in terms of how people rhetorically construct gender. We're going to do the same thing with visual rhetoric and the coronavirus. So just like before, you'll be adding an image and including a brief analysis. So this essentially gets turned in by adding your slide. So you don't make a separate slide, you add one directly to the PowerPoint. So you can see on Google Classroom that I've encouraged you to submit your slide, and then you can mark done or turned in. So let's look. I can see that some folks already got started, and that's awesome because you'll have some great examples to work with. So your directions are to consider how all around us in advertisements, commercials, memes, and images, there are implied arguments about the coronavirus, about how we should act, about whether we should be afraid, and if so, of what. Your task is to locate one artifact from popular culture, an ad, commercial, meme, or other visual image. It must be school appropriate and it must be visual. It cannot just be text. And it must be a visual that portrays an implied argument. So it shouldn't be strictly informative. You will add the artifact to a new slide in this presentation. Be sure to add your name to the slide, and be sure that you have not added something that someone else has added. We want to make sure that each entry is original. Last but not least on the slide, compose an explanation of the artifact, and you'll do two things here. You'll identify the implicit argument, and you will analyze how at least two features of the artifact convey that argument. Just like before, I've given you a sample, and we have this really interesting political cartoon where it seems to be a sort of hazmat suit. Doctors who have entered an apartment perhaps, or a house, seems to be some sort of vaguely domestic setting. Could be an office in a building, or an office in a house. And you can see the individual on the floor, and the sort of classic cartoon sign of death and grossness, this like greenish air slime. And we know these guys are doctors because we have, of course, the symbol back there for medic, or medicine, or help. And this individual says COVID-19, and this individual says 401k, and points at a screen, computer screen, with this sharply declining red arrow. So there's room for a student name, and there's room for analysis and identification of the argument. We have an implicit argument that the economic chaos is deadly just like the virus. The fact that the first doctor can't tell what killed the poor person on the floor implies what part of the argument? It implies that there is a degree of uncertainty about the many ways that the virus is hurting people. What are some of the features that help make this argument? The bright red ominous down-turning arrow on the computer, and the doctor's equipment. So we have some really fantastic work here. Okay? So again, you'll add directly to the slide, and then you can mark turned in or submit. Alright, my friends, that is it. That is everything for this week. I'll be entering grades. If you're behind, please submit material. Good luck, guys. I miss you all, and I hope you're doing well.